everybody, welcome back to the channel. We've got to talk about Warren Buffett because Mr. Warren Buffett just said that if you gave him all of the world's Bitcoin for $25, he would not make that deal. Meaning if he had to pay 25 bucks and get the, $800 billion trillion dollar market cap worth of Bitcoin for $25 is a pretty good return on your money. So spend 25, get a trillion. He would not do that deal. And this statement at the annual Berkshire shareholder conference, which him and his vice president Charlie Munger do every single year, but they haven't done it for the past 3 years because of the pandemic, really got the Bitcoin people, the crypto people, losing their you know what. And you know, it was such an interesting thing to see. We're going to react to it. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to try to give my analysis to at least add my perspective here. But the reason I think he said this was, in one, he wanted to get a point across, and the point was that he doesn't think Bitcoin has any intrinsic value, which we're going to talk about in a second. But number two, I think he wanted to be a bit bombastic. I mean, you got to think about someone like Warren Buffett. He's an OG in investing. He has consistently beaten a lot of the other indexes. He's invested in companies that have created meaningful products for the world that you can kind of touch, feel, smell, understand. So when he sees an asset like Bitcoin that's trading at $300 in 2013, now go up how many percentage points, how many thousands of percents to the height when it was at 69,000, even now it's at 38,000, it would make someone who's done this for a very long time feel very weird. And to be honest, I think they would feel very annoyed that an asset that they were not able to get into, primarily because they didn't understand the asset, is so overvalued in their words. He does not think Bitcoin should have this type of valuation because he does not think Bitcoin is a real thing, which means all the hype, all the people around Bitcoin, all the people pumping Bitcoin, all the media and attention that exists on Bitcoin, he thinks all of it is nonsense. And it's such an interesting perspective to understand why someone who invested in Coca-Cola, you can drink the Coke, he understands what he's investing in, cannot fathom the concept of Bitcoin. And ultimately he missed out on the concept of Bitcoin, because if he did put the billions of dollars into Bitcoin, well, first of all, it wouldn't make it as decentralized in the first place. But second of all, you know, he would have made a massive return if he actually did invest in that. So let's go to his actual thoughts. I think it's important to kind of listen to him for a couple minutes just to hear what he said. And then we're going to get a little bit more deeper into why he kind of made some of these statements. Let's start this right now.
Well, I shouldn't answer any questions on the subject, but I will. You know, there's all kinds of people watching this that are long Bitcoin, and there's nobody that's short, and nobody wants their windpipe stepped on. I don't blame them. I don't like people who step on my windpipe. But I would say this, that if the people in this room owned all of the farmland in the United States, and you offered me a 1% interest in it, and you said, for a 1% interest in all the farmland in the United States, pay our group. Well, let's see. Pay us this bargain price, $25 billion. I'll write you a check this afternoon. $25 billion, now I own 1% of the farmland. If you tell me you own...
So he said if you give him 1% of the farmland in America, he will give you $25 billion. That's his first deal.
1% of the apartment houses in the United States. And you offer me a 1% interest, so I'll have a 1% in all the apartment houses in the country. And you want whatever it may be for it. And call them another $25 billion or something. I'll write you a check.
So he's like, all right, 1% interest on all the apartments or all the farmland in America. I will give you $25 billion. I will do that deal immediately. And so it seems like he was kind of, I think he went into the shareholder meeting thinking, I'm going to set up. I mean, I don't know, but it sounds like, you know, it's kind of like this pre-planned idea of like, I'm going to set up this statement and then I'm going to drop the sledgehammer and kind of just, you know, get the whole world to talk about it.
It's very simple. Now, if you told me you owned all of the Bitcoin in the world, and you offered it to me for $25, I wouldn't take it, because what would I do with it? I have to sell it back to you one way or another. I mean, maybe I have the same people, but it isn't going to do anything. The apartments are going to produce rental, and the farms are going to produce food. And if I've got all the Bitcoin, you know, I'm back where whatever his name was, who may or may not have existed, was, 15 years ago. If I've got it all, he could create a mystery about it. But everybody knows what I'm like. I mean, so if I'm trying to get rid of it, people will say, well, why should I buy some Bitcoin from you? I mean, why don't you call it Buffett coin? Make your own or something. What? Do something. But I'm not going to give you anything for it. And you'd be right, incidentally. But
all right, that's the statement by the king of investing. The Oracle of Omaha is what they call this guy. Look, I have a lot of respect for Warren Buffett. I do not have a lot of cryptocurrencies, primarily because I don't have a lot of money to risk in the volatility of the markets. I have been very clear about this. If you watch my market live stream opens, which are 9:15 a.m. every day or 9:20 a.m. every day in the morning, market close will be coming soon as well. But right now we're doing market opens. Look, I just can't invest in crypto because the price volatility makes my stomach turn. Like, to know I have even a couple thousand in Ethereum or Bitcoin, if I'm okay with letting that money rot for the next 5-6 years, maybe I can handle it. But I just don't know in 5-6 years if it's going to be worth more. Maybe it is, but maybe it's not. And that's kind of the thing that keeps me from crypto. I'd rather put it into an asset like a company that I can understand, that I can have more due diligence on, that I can know a little bit more. Now, do I think when the bull run happens, crypto is going to go crazy? Yes, because we've seen historical precedents of that happening. But that historical precedence was also in a time where there was a ton of liquidity, stimulus checks. Like, there was a lot of other factors in which growth stocks were overvalued at insane valuations. We don't know if a Shopify, for example, gets to $1,700 ever again. I mean, it was at $1,700. That's when Bitcoin was around $50,000, $69,000. Now Shopify's at 400, much more reasonable valuation, and people are saying that's even overvalued given its PE is about 19 right now. So it's like, it's an interesting question, and I personally can't invest in crypto because I can't handle the volatility. Someone like Warren Buffett, who just put 9% of his personal funds, which are a couple $1 billion, into Activision Blizzard, that Microsoft has announced an acquisition for $95. He bought it at $70. So he believes this is a guaranteed 20% return on his money, but the market doesn't think so, because otherwise they would have bought the shares and the share price would be trading at around $95 or $93, $94. Those are the types of guaranteed deals that Warren Buffett looks for. He does not look for something like a Bitcoin. So I understand his perspective, first of all, on the volatility. But the second sort of larger argument he's making is that, look, $25 billion of farmland or apartments produces something. I get crops or I get rentals. I give people a place to live or I get people something to eat. But $25 billion of Bitcoin or $25 for Bitcoin, it doesn't matter because it doesn't have any value. Meaning I buy the Bitcoin and I just buying it to sell to someone else. And so I think one of the things about value investing that is so important when it comes to value investors is they're looking for a particular return on an asset that is producing cash flows and that is offering something valuable, which is why cryptos, NFTs, none of this stuff makes sense to some of the older value investors because they don't understand the fundamental exchanges of value that a cryptocurrency or an NFT present, because they don't think it has any intrinsic value. A Coca-Cola can or Coca-Cola stock has intrinsic value because Coke is something that people drink. There is value in giving people something to drink. There's not really value in just buying something to sell it at a higher price. And this thing, I agree with Warren Buffett. Like, I understand his perspective that there really is no value to Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. You can't do much with it. It's the same thing. The problem is, and this is where I'm going to defend the other side, which is where I would lean towards if I had to make a bet here in this debate, is that he's not understanding that cryptocurrencies in general are a medium of exchange for value on the internet. So, Bitcoin is compared to gold. It's like gold, you can wear it, you can do stuff with it. So gold has intrinsic value. That's why it's meaningful. Crypto is way more, Bitcoin's way more expensive than gold, but Bitcoin isn't gold. It doesn't have any value. One could argue that Bitcoin is a form of digital gold, and it's a really easy argument because Bitcoin at the end of the day is what you use to, like, for example, buy an NFT, and that NFT could be a jacket. And so you buy a virtual jacket. If you were going to use gold, you could use a gold to buy a jacket, right? You could definitely exchange gold for a jacket and there's a value there. You could use gold in your earrings or something. But if cryptocurrency is the foundational mechanism by which you can own an NFT earring in the virtual metaverse, for example, I mean, this is just a start to where this world can go, and cryptocurrencies in a decentralized fashion are going to be powering this new metaverse world. Then Bitcoin is going to be a layer of protocols that are going to be that people are going to be able to build on top of. It's same thing with Ethereum. And when you have that foundational layer in which all these other decentralized applications are built off top of, using the network that you have built, which is Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana or there's Polygon, there's all these other networks, there is value there because all of the things, for example, Ethereum and OpenSea, OpenSea is a centralized platform, but they use Ethereum for people to be able to buy, trade, and sell NFTs. Well, there's value in the NFTs, therefore there's value to Ethereum being the primary mechanism to facilitate those transactions. Now, the counter argument from value investors would be, there's no value in the NFTs. Why are you buying the NFT? It's just a JPEG, right? It's like there's no value in it. The only value is to sell the NFT to someone else to get an exchange, to get a return on your money. Which for 99.9% of them, that is correct. But for the projects that really matter, that kind of have this intrinsic value in terms of just like the social and cultural phenomenon they create, then there is a value there. Just like the value to art, even if it's physical, it's just digital at that. Like to me, it's just a very simple comparison. It's just art. Art has no real value outside of its phenomena in social and cultural lens. Same thing with an NFT, it's just the digital version. So my point is, if cryptocurrency is the primary mechanism to be able to facilitate the transactions that allow people to do things on the internet, there is a lot of digital value there. And now it doesn't make sense for him to own all of it, because if anyone owned all of Bitcoin, it wouldn't be decentralized, which is the whole point, for it to be spread out as a currency that the entire world can use. So his argument kind of doesn't even make sense there. But his perspective on buying it for 25 and just selling it for 26, therefore there's really no intrinsic value, I think it makes sense if you really think about it from his perspective in terms of this bottle has intrinsic value. That's why I'm buying the stock of Gatorade. But the actual like potential of doing something on the internet is facilitated through a lot of cryptocurrencies in the new digital Web3 type of world that these startups and a lot of NFT projects are using, which makes a lot of sense. And the other thing to remember is that Warren and Charlie, they don't get the internet either. They didn't invest in the biggest technology names in the world. They only invested in Apple because they saw it as a consumer company more than anything else. But they missed out on Tesla, which is more a technology company than even a car company. They obviously missed out on Facebook and Google. I mean, in Google and Amazon. They didn't invest in these companies because they didn't understand technology. Well, if you don't understand technology, you're going to miss out on some exponential gains because these technologies are really disruptive and they're actually doing this stuff, which I think is the same thing for crypto. Now, will Bitcoin go to the moon? Ethereum go to the moon? I don't know. But if decentralized applications are being built on top of these layers and they're providing a lot of value to people, whether it's through NFTs or any other type of service, decentralized finance, that's a big one as well, then these cryptocurrencies have the potential to really, really become mainstream and most likely will. And at that point, it would probably be worth more than $25. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What did you feel about Mr. Buffett's comments? And do you own a bit of Bitcoin?